Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for a link to my Amazon store where I've compiled some of the very best items available, including some of my own personal recommendations. Thanks! What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I have a completely different video to share with you guys. I'm going to be talking about all the things outside of folding knives that I am passionate about. And, for a lot of people, this isn't going to be interesting at all. If you're brand new to the channel, right, or you're not interested in hearing me talk about anything other than folding knives, then, yeah, I completely understand. You don't have to watch this video. But for people who have been around for a while and if you've been curious, yeah, of course, there are definitely other things in my life outside of folding knives that I'm very passionate about. Though I will admit, of course, my number one and number two will always be, of course, my family and my close friends. Those are more important to me than anything else in this world. But in third place, the thing that I definitely am most passionate about is folding knives. I'm sure you guys can tell. I really love folding knives. And the knives are out here today, actually, so that while I'm talking about this, you guys at least have knife stuff to look at. I did have a different idea planned for this video. I had images and things like that, but I realized that that's essentially asking for a copyright claim, and I don't need that. So I'm just going to be talking about this stuff. So like many of you, there are a lot of other things in our lives that we enjoy. And, growing up, there were certain things that I really, really liked and that I was embarrassed to talk about. As a teenager, you're into certain things. And by the way, I was born in the late 80s. I am 33 years old. So a lot of the people watching my channel, you're right here in the same, age group. And there's a lot of people who are much older. There's people who are much younger. You're not going to, some of these things you're like, what? What the heck is he talking about? But a lot of you are going to be able to identify with a lot of this stuff. But as a 33-year-old and having, pretty much accepted who I am and am confident about talking about these things, it's no longer, some of this stuff is no longer embarrassing to me. I remember being 14, 15 and, trying to fit in, and I was like, I like this stuff, but it's not socially accepted. That's the way that a lot of us thought. And the funny thing is now as adults, we realize that a lot of us liked the same stuff anyway, and that's the same for any age group. So at this point, it's just going to be fun to talk about it. I will periodically, pick these up and just sort of flip them, stuff like. If you ever watched my Knife Guy series, it's going to be a little bit like that. I do have reviews about most of these knives, but this is just going to be for your entertainment. So first off, anybody who doesn't know, I love video games, and I have loved video games since I was a kid. The first games that I remember playing are like Super Mario Brothers for NES, and actually, the one that I still periodically play to this day that's old school is Super Mario 3. I love Super Mario 3. Remember, for those of you who don't remember that game, discovering the Hammer Brothers suit for the first time and realizing you can knock out the ghosts and the thwomps. Oh my God. As a kid, that was so fun. I love that game. Of course, that eventually turned into, as we got older and new consoles came out, we never had a Super Nintendo, but we got an N64. I loved Mario 64. I loved GoldenEye. Eventually we ended up, getting an Xbox, and I loved the Halo series. Those were games that kind of shaped the things that I love. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. I've played most of the Final Fantasy series. I've not played the newest one yet, but I'm very basic, right? I like a lot of the same stuff that a lot of people like. Final Fantasy VII was probably the best Final Fantasy. I was a big fan of 8. I haven't played the new remake of 7. Eventually, I got into World of Warcraft, and I know that's going to be kind of a shock for a lot of people. I played World of Warcraft for 3 years. I love that game, and if I had more time, I would probably return to it, though I would imagine it has changed quite a bit. I stopped playing, the Icecrown Citadel was the last expansion that I played, and I quit sometime around Cataclysm, but I played through the Dark Temple days and all that. Really, that game has, major influence on me, and it's in terms of my gaming preferences, things like that. I'm a big Diablo fan. I started with Diablo 2. I still play Diablo 3 sometimes. I got into Destiny 1 and 2. I haven't played so much recently. I love Borderlands. Gigantic Elder Scrolls fan. I started with Morrowind, played that into the ground, played Oblivion into the ground, Elder Scrolls 6, Skyrim, played that into the ground, and I still play Skyrim. I love Skyrim. Can't wait for Elder Scrolls 6, but I know that's 2 or 3 years off. Some of my favorite video games of all time are Dark Souls 2 and 3. Yes, the channel mascot, the knight, and the helmet design for the stickers is largely based on, you know, what I like about the art of Dark Souls. Endure 88 and Endure 88 actually did the artwork for the channel, all of it actually. He's a big Dark Souls fan, and if you guys have ever seen my Instagram stories, I love that look. That is just, the games are brutal. If you've never played Dark Souls, no matter what type of gamer you are, that game will rip you apart. It is very difficult. It is very frustrating, but my goodness, are they wonderful games. I've never played Demon Souls, and I did not play the first Dark Souls, so a lot of people would say that I'm not a true Dark Souls fan. Whatever. I just really like those games. I could talk about video games. I could make the whole video about video games, but it would just be way too long and it would not be entertaining. So let's move on here. A lot of people know, actually, a lot of people who follow me on Instagram know about some of this stuff, and people in my Discord, and if you've watched my live streams, I've talked about a lot of this stuff. But I know there are a lot of you who, you know, you're not in those different groups, so you don't know about this. But I'm a big automotive, I guess, I don't want to say I'm an automotive enthusiast. I like cars, like in a very general sense. I'm a GM fan, and I'm a Mopar head for sure. And sorry, Ford, I'm not a big fan of Ford. Not that they make bad vehicles, it's just not what I'm into. I sold for Chrysler. I actually was a car salesman for 4.5 years. You know, we grew up with GM, but I just love what Chrysler has been doing with the whole muscle car thing. I'm a big fan of the Hemi motor. My wife and I drive an RT Durango. I think it's a 2018, but it's got the Hemi in it, and I just love that motor. I love the look. You know what Dodge has been doing here lately. I'm a big fan of you know, what they did with the Charger and the Challenger, and selling those vehicles. I was constantly in them. I was constantly around them. You know, we were constantly on test drives, and it was really fun to get behind the wheel. Just a couple of my times in my life, get behind the wheel of a Hellcat. Those are, for anybody who doesn't know, those have a little over 700 horsepower. And boy, that is crazy. Feeling the G-force and the acceleration in a car that's got not even that much. I mean, even, you know, 400 or 500 horsepower is just awesome. But the sound of the motor, I've always been attracted to that. I really like watching drag racing. And if you're wondering what my favorite vehicle is of all time, I think the greatest vehicle ever made is the 1969 RT SE 426 Charger. That is the nastiest. I get chills talking about that car. That is the nastiest car. If you've never seen a picture of that car, look it up. Oh my goodness, my heart melts every time I see a picture of that vehicle. But yeah, I'm not like my brother is way more into it than I am. So like, I couldn't take an engine apart and put it back together. I'm not claiming to be like that, you know. I just really, I mean, I like to go to local car shows. I just, in a general sense, I really like stuff like that, and I have for my entire life. Number 3, let's talk about the number 1. Like, I like a lot of TV shows, guys. You know, I like, you know, in terms of, like, I mean, there's a bunch of funny stuff that I watch. I watch The Office. I like Parks and Rec. I like Friends. But, you know, shows that I've really gotten into, I really like Lost and Dexter. A big Game of Thrones fan. Big, you know, The Walking Dead fan. Not so much towards the end, but I love, you know, like Last Kingdom, some of the newer stuff. There's a lot of shows that I really like, but there's only one show in my life that has gone from childhood to now. And I mean, literally, for anybody who doesn't know, this show has been around, I think, since the early 80s and is still going to this day. It's actually becoming quite mainstream. We see a lot of references to this show in even today, and that is Dragon Ball Z. I am not a big general fan of anime. That's not, I mean, I know a lot of people like a lot of different animes. I just haven't had a lot of experience with a lot of that different stuff, but I remember being a kid and coming home, you know, between seasons, you know, in sports, you know, in late grade school, early middle school, there were a few days where, you know, or a couple of weeks periodically where we wouldn't have a practice. And I stumbled upon an episode of Dragon Ball Z, And for those of you who are much older or who weren't into this, you're not gonna know what the heck I'm talking about. You're not gonna get anything out of it. But I know for a fact that there are a lot of Dragon Ball Z fans in my viewing audience. I stumbled upon the episode where Vegeta and Nappa had landed on Earth, and Nappa was ripping apart the essentially the military. They had sent the military in after they had crash landed, and they had challenged all the Earth warriors. And Nappa was just ripping apart the military that had been sent in. And I was like, what is this? I think I was maybe 10 or 11. And it was like it was like 5:30 in the afternoon on, I think, Cartoon Network. And I just could not believe what I was seeing. It was essentially, for anybody who doesn't know, it's kind of like, the way I look at it, it's the Z Fighters are kind of like, the Marvel superheroes. A lot of martial arts, a lot of superpowers, throwing energy and stuff in their hands. I just ate that up when I was a kid. There was other stuff I was into. I was into Pokemon. That didn't continue on with me into adulthood, but that show was such a huge part of a lot of our childhoods. And, the episodes, for a long time, the new episodes were just, I think, once a week. And they were so drawn out and so intense. We had to wait. It's not like now you can watch all however many 500 episodes there are now. And the newer show is called Super, and it's the same voice actors. It's the same idea. It all is in the same universe, and it's still going. Not many shows, are doing that. But yeah, I still watch that, and I still keep up with the manga and everything. That's, like I said, I'm not generally into anime, but there's something different about Dragon Ball Z, and the universe of that kind of translates. Here recently, it's kind of in the fitness world. It translates really well, because the whole idea of the show is there's always somebody bigger and stronger out there, and sometimes they kind of elbow into your your personal life, and sometimes whether physically or metaphorically, sometimes you just have to do what you got to do to overcome those obstacles. And I kind of, I get that. I'm a big, I'm somebody who spends a lot of time in the gym, and that's a really basic way of, meshing those two things together. I'm going to talk about the gym here in a sec. But yeah, that is a huge, I went to the theaters to see the new Brawley movie. Me and a bunch of my other friends ranging from 25 to 35 years old went to the theater in the United States to see the new movie, and we were surrounded by other adults. There were no kids in that theater. Oh man, it was so funny. Anyways, let's move on. Movies. Lots of movies that I like. I'm really just going to talk about one movie that I mean, in our house, we repeatedly watch this movie, and actually this series over and over and over again. I know a lot of you guys probably do as well, and that's Lord of the Rings. Far and away, my favorite movie to watch on repeat. My favorite movies to watch on repeat are the first, second, and third Lord of the Rings. Now, a very long time ago, I read the books, but I'll admit to you, when I read the books, I was 14 or 15, and I do not remember a lot of it. But I have read them through at least once, including The Hobbit. I do love the movies. I recognize that there are some differences, and that the best versions to watch are the extended ones, but they still don't necessarily do the books 100% justice. That doesn't matter to me. I love the movies. I could watch those. I could watch them back to back every single day for weeks without getting tired of them, and I'll still end up coming back to them. My favorite movie of all time is the third one, The Return of the King. Oh my, man, that is just such a wonderful... If you've never watched Lord of the Rings, you're right, and you're like, I'm not into that nerdy fantasy stuff. I mean, it's okay. Like what you like, right? But, the truth is that, there are a lot more people who enjoy that kind of stuff than you think. And, nerdy, putting that in the category of nerdy stuff, right? That may have made a lot more sense, a couple of decades ago. But the truth is that term, nerdy stuff, the truth is that that's kind of, it kind of is mainstream now, like what a lot of people consider to be nerdy stuff. A lot of different types of people enjoy. There's too many hybridizations of people to lump, a certain group of people. If you saw me in real life, there would be like, there's no way that guy likes Dragon Ball Z and used to like Pokemon, and I mean, truthfully, the Pokemon Go game is kind of fun. or likes Lord of the Rings. You would not. You would. There's no way that you. There's no way you'd assume that by looking at me. And that's the same way, with a lot of people, is that it's not just certain types of people who like this stuff. But yeah, I love high fantasy. I used to play Dungeons and Dragons actually with some of the other kids in my youth group. A long time ago, and I just like stuff like that. Lord of the Rings really speaks to me. I love the fantasy element. I love the story. I love the whole reforging of Onderil. That's one of the exclusive emojis for my live streams is the broken blade. And yeah, I mean, if you can't tell by the artwork on the channel, yeah, Lord of the Rings has a lot to do with that. And it's a wonderful, wonderful series. And man, The Return of the King. I mean, that movie by itself actually is on, if you look up top 10 greatest movies of all time, there's a 50% chance you're going to see Return of the King on anybody's list, whether they're just some unknown individual or some, well-known whatever. They publish a lot of online articles. You're going to see that a lot. Absolutely. Let's talk about music. Everybody, most people like music, right? Most people are pretty passionate about their taste in music. I got into harder rock, in middle school. I think it was the Metallica S&M album that really I was like, yep, I like this. I like the epic sound. I like the aggressive sound. I like I like some normal classic rock. I like the Eagles, and I like Journey, but I really like the heavier stuff. And Metallica started to do that to me. I don't like music that, and to a lot of people, the bands that I'm gonna name here are exactly what like I'm gonna say I don't like music that's just like just too much of that, where that's the only thing that's in the entire song. It's too much, but I do like really heavy stuff. I do like Slipknot, and I do like And by the way, my taste in music and whatever the view of the band is or their political stance, I don't care about that. It's no way reflects on my own. I just like the music, right? A lot of times, whatever it is that they're saying, I'm not really paying attention to. I just like the music, right? Gets me going. But yeah, the two bands that have really stuck with me for a long time, aside from Slipknot, there's actually three bands. I really like Ice Nine Kills, and they're a newer band, but I really like their sound. I really like their themed stuff. It's great music for the gym, absolutely. And I really like it Within the Ruins. They're also a newer band, and they're pretty aggressive. A lot of people, if you go and listen to their music, you're going to go, that's exactly what he's describing. It's like really, really aggressive, and yeah. There are definitely more aggressive bands out there that I don't like. And Disturbed. I've liked Disturbed, I think, since I was in middle school. A lot of people have. I think they're awesome. I think David Draymond has an amazing voice. And I'm going to continue to listen to them. I think they're wonderful. Moving on here, I am very, very passionate about the gym and fitness. I went to college for health and human performance. I have not finished college yet, but I got into that and really it translated well, made sense to me. I grew up playing sports. Aside from one season, I did not take a season off of sports. I think from grade school all the way up through high school. I played football, basketball a little bit in middle school. Eventually it was football, wrestling, and track were my big three. And I found that I really enjoyed, figuring out how to get stronger, figuring out how to increase my maxes in different areas. And I still, there are definitely times where I take off from the gym and I gain some weight, but I always come back, and I just really, really like that. And a lot of times, my taste in music and my interests, especially it's like I said, Dragon Ball Z had a gigantic influence on me, just like the idea of constantly, chasing a higher form or constantly getting stronger. For what reason, I don't really know. It feels good mentally, physically, emotionally to burn off energy and to get something good from it. I'm not somebody who takes a lot of supplements. I have never used steroids or any synthetics or anything like that. I do, occasionally use a protein powder. That's about it. But I just love going to the gym, and I would say I'm not what you call a power lifter. I don't do CrossFit. It's very general weightlifting, more towards the bodybuilding side with stress relief, and I think it's good mentally too. There's no reason I'm not an athlete. I'm not training for anything. I don't really do anything with. I mean, there's not really any way that I can apply excess strength in my life. It's just I just enjoy it absolutely. Next up, I want to talk about YouTube channels that I like outside of other knife-related content. Again, this is something that's very plain. A lot of this stuff, those of you who are still here, you're going to think this guy's pretty basic. Like, he's describing like a fairly normal person who spends a normal amount of time on the internet, right? Yeah, and that's true. There's not really anything super special about me. But I very much enjoy... if you've never checked out Cletus McFarland on YouTube, he's the kid who broke the world record for the fastest manual Corvette ever. A quarter-mile time of under 8 seconds. Now, the vehicle that he uses does not look like a Corvette. It basically looks like a go-kart. But it is essentially, at its core, it was a Corvette. It's been heavily modified. But if you could imagine doing a quarter mile in under 8 seconds... that is amazing. I love Cletus McFarland. I've watched his channel grow from about 200,000 subs up to, I don't know what he's at now, 2.5 million. Very, very entertaining. And of course, I am part of the, I guess you could call me part of the bro army. I am a huge PewDiePie fan. I think my brother and I started watching PewDiePie when he was something around 6 million. My brother claims to have watched PewDiePie back when he was only about 500,000. That guy, for anybody who doesn't know, PewDiePie is the largest individual YouTuber in the world at something like 105 million subscribers. And he's a gaming channel. He is kind of the meme king. He does a lot of different stuff. He's very close to my age, and I find him funny in a goofy way. I would say mentally, I reached the maturity level of a 24-year-old. And that's about as far as it goes. And I think PewDiePie is very much the same way. Obviously, he's intelligent. He's able to increase his population, his subscriber count up to over 105 million. But some people like him, some people don't. I very much enjoy watching PewDiePie. Last up, I think we're at 20 minutes now. The last thing I want to talk about is I am a general outdoorsy type of person. Now, here lately, I haven't spent nearly as much time camping, fishing. I'm not a big hunter. I'm sure a lot of you guys wonder, you live in Kansas, you like knives, are you a hunter? Not really. I don't have anything against hunting, I think, if you eat what you shoot, that's fine. That's about as far as it goes. But I like to fish. I like to camp. I love to just be outside and grill. One of my favorite things to do, I'm pretty simple. Is just stand outside with a beverage and grill burgers or steaks. I just very much love that. I love being outside. I love going to the lake. Just being outside and being around friends and family, and just enjoying, I think, nature for the most part without being glued to my electronics, which as a YouTuber, I'm country, I obviously spend a lot of time in front of my TV and in front of my computer and my phone. So I think that's my counterbalance. When I have an opportunity to do stuff like that, part of the reason why I record so much ahead is so that when I want to do stuff like that, I can just go do it. I think that's very important. I'm not the best. I'm not the best at grilling. I don't know everything about bushcraft or anything like that. I'm not really talking about that. It's just literally just going and being outside. I'm very, very passionate about that. I live in Kansas. We have a lot of open space out here. I love being outside and watching a massive thunderstorm roll in. The reason that you see a lot of, if you've ever watched any of my Instagram stories, the reason that you see a lot of lightning effects and things like that is because I'm fascinated with lightning and thunderstorms. The weather gets very, very violent out here, but when you're around it all the time, I mean, obviously I'm not running headfirst into a tornado or anything like that, but it is amazing to watch. And we have a lot of open room to view stuff like this. There's, no HD screen, there's no, level of technology that's able to capture exactly what that's like. It's being right there and being able to see, in Kansas, everything is flat. There's nothing, basically obstructing your vision. So getting out a little bit into the country and watching a massive thunderstorm roll in, it's just one of the most amazing things that I've ever experienced. And to this day, I very much like that. And just the outdoors in general. Very, very fun. Guys, this was weird. This was different. It's something that I thought I might save, you know, till the next subscriber count mark. If we hit 30,000 or whatever, I might say. But I thought, you know what? Let's just do this. Let's just let's talk about it. You know, people who are interested can watch. People who aren't interested, you can skip it. I got a lot of other content, so there's plenty more to watch. And I've undoubtedly uploaded something else that's much more knife related, either earlier or you know, that will be later today. So anyways, guys, I hope you found this mildly entertaining. I guess that's just a little bit of information about myself. If you enjoyed this video in any way, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe, because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.